Hi everyone, welcome to a new hands-on activity video. In today's video, we are going to learn how to make a paper plate clock. Now this activity is from the chapter of time. We are going to learn how to make a paper plate clock out of simple materials and use it to practice telling time. Now before we begin, let's check whether we have the materials. You would have received from your teacher these materials and send this in soft copy from your teacher. Let's take a look at what are some of the tools that you need. You need a paper plate, right? Here's one. Scissors. Well, it says here ruler, but I didn't prepare it because I think I probably will not need it. But if you want to make sure that you have very good straight lines, you can use it, okay, or measurements to fit the paper plate and the clock template. You will realize that my paper plate here is almost exactly the same size as the template. See? Right? Okay. Now, well, this paper plate is a recycled plate, so it looks a little old, right? But never mind, we can still use it and repurpose it to make something beautiful. Okay, what else do we need? We need an eraser, hard cuts here. The hard cuts are for the clock hands. And then we need a split pin. This is the split pin, or you call a paper fastener, that we are going to use to fix the clock hands onto the clock face. And then we can have color pencils or any other coloring materials. This is my color pencils. And the clock template. Oh, the glue stick. I almost forgot to mention the glue stick. Okay, once you're ready, let's get started. Oh, I have a marker too. I'm going to use a marker to write down the numbers for the clock face here. Alright, if you like to use the color pencils and coloring materials, you can do that too, but I will use a marker because I think that's the most important part of this clock face. Oh, well, I will recommend you start decorating first before cutting out and pasting. So I'm going to begin with writing in the numbers on the clock face. Starting from the inner circle here, this inner circle is for the hour times. Alright? Do you know how many hours you have in a one whole day? It's 24 hours. Now, we have 24 hours in one whole day, but on an analog clock like this, we only show 12 numbers. You'll find out why very soon. Now, so let's start off with 12 o'clock. And 12 o'clock is right in the middle, at the center here, from the center of the clock hands upwards, right at the top. Now, 12 o'clock is like midnight or midday. And then from 12, you write 1, 2, 3, and goes all the way back to 12 here. So it's a circle, and I can actually know there's a shortcut to it. We have already learned shape, so here's how it goes. 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock is like half of the circle. So I could write 6, I can write 6 here, right? 12 to 6. And 12 to 3 is like a quarter of the circle. Like 3 is to 6. Here is like a quarter of the circle. So we have 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and that's 9 o'clock. I can fill in the other hour timings as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right, so I have my hour timings written from 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And it can be 12 o'clock in the midnight, or 12 o'clock in midday. Now, let's go on to the outer circle here. The outer circle, do you know what these numbers are for? Just like the hour hands and minute hands, we have an inner circle and an outer circle. Do you know which hand is for the hour and which hand is for the minutes? We'll find out in a bit. So, in the outer circle here, we have the minutes. Do you know how long is 1 hour? How many minutes is 1 hour? In 1 hour, we have 60 minutes. Starting from 12 here, I can write it at 0 minutes. And you realize that after 1 whole hour, 60 minutes will have passed. So I'll write 60 here. Now, you will be able to count later and realize why we are ending with 60. See the little lines here, the little intervals, mini intervals here between our hour timings? Look, these thicker, darker lines are for the hour. And then we have the thinner, shorter lines here. They actually tell minutes. So from 0, I can count actually 1, 2, 3, 4. Here and then here we have 5 minutes. And we can go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 minutes. Well, we have already learned multiplication and division. And what do you realize about the pattern in the minutes here? It follows the times table, right? We can skip count by 5 to count the minutes of the hour. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. And what's after 5 minutes after 55? That's 60. It brings us to 60. And you can realize that the hour hands here, the markings, how is it related to the outer markings here, the timings and the numbers here? It's by the 5 times table. 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 5 is 10, 3 times 5 is 15, 4 times 5 is 20, 5 times 5 is 25, 6 times 5 is 30, and goes on to 12 times 5 is 60. Now, as you can see, we mentioned it earlier, 12 o'clock here, when an hour hand moves here, it reaches 30 minutes at 6, and that's half an hour. Now, we'll practice telling time a little more later. First, we'll continue with making the clock, shall we? I'm getting ready to decorate it with my colored pencils. What's your favorite color, I wonder? Okay, I'm going to choose some bright colors because I think I like bright colors to represent the start of the day. So I'm going to use colors like red, orange, yellow, or maybe I can choose even more. I really like the rainbow. I love rainbow, and that's some colors here. Okay, I'm going to use all these colors to decorate my clock. Let me start with the inner circle. What would you want your frame of the clock be? Gonna go with purple. Maybe a little bit more. I shall make my frame rainbow color. Okay. Well, you can be creative. You don't really have to follow my colors. If you like to use any other colors, any other designs, please go ahead. Have lots of fun in coloring and designing your very own clock face, alright? Okay, I'm done with the frame. Let me add some color to the inner circle of the frame. Now you can be creative, so it's really entirely up to you how you like to color this clock, alright? Alright, so I have my inner circle colored. You can choose to decide how you want to color the rest of the circle. I think I'm quite happy with what I have colored and designed. Maybe I can use the brown to color the exterior. The outer circle for the minute's hands. So if you like to color other colors or draw in other shapes, please feel free to do so, alright? Have fun. and enjoy designing your own clock. If you like, you can get someone to do it with you, maybe daddy, mommy, or auntie, or your brother, sister, or friend even. Okay, enjoy this paper craft activity together. Okay, alright, so I'm done with my clock face. Maybe I'll color in the clock hands as well. So I have two hard cuts here. One is blue and one is orange. You can use any color if you like. I'm going to glue them onto this clock hands. Oh, I must remember to draw a marking later on, okay? Okay, so let me put in the glue for my clock hands first. I'm going to glue it right above. If you like to color the clock hands, feel free to do so, okay? But since my card is already colored, I'm going to just glue it straight away and use the colors of the card. Okay, so I'm going to use blue and orange. Okay, so can I still see it on the other side? Yes, that's right. Okay, so if I can see it still on the other side, I'm using my marker to mark out the cross here. Okay, and I'm going to cut up my clock hands, following the shadow. If you find that this is a bit challenging, you can actually color your clock hands and paste the cuts on the other side, alright? But do take note, be very careful. You want your clock hands to be able to freely turn and rotate later on. Okay. But I do want the clock hands to be sturdy. So I pasted the hard cut. Right, okay, so I have, see, I can turn it over and now I have a long hand and a short hand for my clock hands. Okay, right, okay, I'm going to cut out the rest of the clock face. Okay, so I have my clock face here and my clock hands. Okay, now here I'm supposed to make holes here. You can use a sharp pin or compass to cut it through here, or I'll use the scissors. Let me show you how I'm going to use the scissors for this, okay? I'll bend it slightly. Make a small cut, just a very small cut. Okay, see? Right? And then a very small, bend it slightly. And make a small cut, snip. Okay, you see that? Okay. Right. Okay, so let me glue this face in now. You realize that on this plate, there's an inner circle and an outer circle as well. And it fits perfectly onto the plate. Okay, put it in the glue now. You can use double-sided tape or glue stick, white glue. They all work. But I like glue stick quite a bit because I find them very fast-free and handy. Okay. Pop it onto the clock face, onto the plate. If you like, you can press it down a bit. Okay, because it's a bit groovy, so I have some creases on my plate. If you like to use the other side of the clock, that's fine too, okay? Okay, so I'm pasted it in. Now time for the clock hands. I have to poke a hole through here, the plate here, and there, get this pin to go through. So let me check if this is sharp enough. It might be that I can poke through a hole here with just using the pin. Otherwise, I can use the scissors and the sharp end of the scissors. But be very, very careful with this though. If you need, do get an adult to help you, alright? Otherwise, I can use also the trick that I did just now. Just bend it really slightly after you try to push through a hole. You turn to the back, you can see a slight dent there. I can make a small snip using my scissors as well to make that, see, hole. Right, then now I can place my clock hands. Alright, through the pin. You use the pin to go through the clock hands, like this, the split pin. Okay, and then through the clock face, right through the middle. Now it's through, turn to the back, and I split the pin apart to fix it. Right, okay, so now I have my clock face ready, and my clock hand is almost all good and ready. Yay, for practicing on telling time. Okay, if you'd like to decorate it further, do please go ahead. Alright, I'm going to write my name at the back of the plate. These eyes, so that I make sure that I wouldn't lose it. Okay, turning it around. Yay! My paper clock craft is complete. I can now practice using this paper clock to tell time. Now you can ask Daddy, Mommy to practice this with you. Tell your time and you show it. Or Daddy, Mommy can move the clock hands and tell you to tell the time. Now, just now, earlier on when we begin this video, there was a question. It says, do you know which hand tells hour and which hand tells minutes? Right, so you can see that the shorter hand here, no matter it pointing, it doesn't really touch the little divisions and the little lines here, the intervals here. Whereas the longer hands, why is it long? It's because it can touch the little intervals that is between the hours. And you can see that, oh, right, say for example, I'm showing this time, like the hour hands is between 1 and 2, and say for example, the minute hand is pointing here. You can see that the hour hand is pointing between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So it's like 1 and something, right? 1 something in the morning or 1 something in the afternoon. And to be really accurate, because you can see that, I don't really need to be that accurate for the hour. It could be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Now, but however, the minute hand has to be very accurate. It tells us exactly what time it is of the day. So like just now, I have the clock hands showing between 1 to 2 o'clock, and then the minute hand pointing exactly at the small interval here between the o'clocks. So if my minute hand is pointing exactly at this mark, so I can tell that, see, this is 4, 1, so I have at between 4 and 5, it's actually between 20 minutes and 25 minutes. So if it's pointing at here exactly, it's actually at 1:22 a.m. or p.m. of the day. Now, at primary 1, we need to learn how to tell time accurately to 5 minutes. So for example, This is 12 o'clock when the hour hand and the minute hand points exactly at 12. From 12 o'clock, I can count 12:05. See, the minute hand is pointing at 5 minutes. It's pointing at 1, but it actually means 5 minutes. 12:05, 12:10, 12:15, 12:20, 12:25, 12:30. And when it reaches 12:30, you realize that it's exactly between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock. The hour hand will be pointing right in between 12 and 1. So 12:30, 12:35, 12:40, 12:45, 12:50, 12:55, and 1 o'clock is when the minute hand has gone one complete round around the clock. It means 60 minutes have passed, which is 1 hour. That's why from 12 o'clock, it has now become 1 o'clock. Okay, so that's a little bit of a practice. Please have some fun with the clock and practice telling time using the clock face. See you next time.